A late diagnosis of ADHD and autism and grieving. Hi, I'm Brett, the Audi Boss. On this channel, we talk about ADHD and autism in the workplace. I'm Brett. I'm an autistic leader with ADHD. I have over 10 years of leadership training and experience, and I have a formal diagnosis of ADHD and autism. Normally on this channel, I talk about ADHD and autism in the workplace, and we're going to do a little bit of that in this video, but I want to specifically get to the topic of the grieving process after getting a late diagnosis of ADHD and or autism. On the other side of self-diagnosis and then a formal diagnosis came this window of time of grieving the life I thought I could have had, or grieving things that I thought were lost opportunities, or opportunities that I could have pursued, or how things could have been different, or how things could have been easier. Sometimes these avenues, these pathways, these roads that we sometimes go down when we have these process are not healthy because we didn't necessarily live that life, and that we're living the life that we have now, and we have to work forward from the place we're at now. At the same time, there is also a good school of thought that says, let's take some time and process that. That's where I'm going to be on this video. I believe it is healthy, and sometimes that grieving process can take years to work it through. The grieving process often gets misunderstood as giving up. Grieving is not giving up. Grieving is processing. Even when we grieve in a more traditional sense, and there's many ways we should grieve in life, when there's a loss of a relationship, a loss of someone in our life, a loss of a job, a loss of anything, whatever it is, there's a grieving process that is a healthy process, because grieving is processing. And many times we can sort of get stuck in that grieving process of thinking, well, I can't have this now, or I can't do that thing now. And it's not necessarily that we can't have or can't do that thing. Certainly there are things out there we can't have and we can't do. That's just how the world is. What I've learned in my grieving process as I go through that is I looked at the life, the possibilities that maybe I could have had I known about my autism and ADHD sooner. It's also possible I would have had more restrictions put in front of me. There are many years that I went without knowing that, ignorance being the bliss that it was, I charged ahead and did things without thinking, because in many cases ADHD helped me do that with certain confidence they gave me, and I didn't know. There were many things in my autistic life that served me very well to get me to where I needed to be in my career. There were other things that were hard as well, and perhaps there were multiple traumas along the way, just because, as Devin Price writes, there are traumas that we face all the time as being autistic and ADHD and growing up without knowing, or even growing up with knowing. There are things that we run into. But I ended up on the other side of this with the same place I always end up on, which is there's always another way in. And that grieving process, it's important to not get stuck there on an all or nothing thinking. It can be both and. It can be, yes, perhaps I lost out on an opportunity, and now that I know, there are other opportunities I can have. Now that I know, I can process the world the way I was meant to process the world, meant to see the world, meant to function in the world, meant to exist in the world, and I can find my way more comfortably, or with more knowledge, having the tools that I can now get at my disposal, knowing how to better meet my needs. That on this end, if I want to pursue that thing, okay, maybe there's a few more steps for me. Maybe I need a little bit more support. Maybe I need a little bit more help to achieve those things. But now I know that. And that's the difference. The difference was before I would have hit a wall and possibly just given up. And now if I get frustrated or get overwhelmed or enter any of those feelings or any of those experiences, now on this side, I'm going to stop and ask for help. And I'm going to evaluate, okay, why am I getting overwhelmed? Why am I getting frustrated? Why do I feel like giving up right now? What are the barriers in front of me? Be it at work, be it in my career, be it in life. How can I break those barriers down so that I can get through them? Who do I need to ask for help to do that? Is there someone I can ask? And that doesn't necessarily mean I have to share my disability with somebody, but it can mean, okay, this one person can help me with this one barrier. Okay, that's a barrier I've checked off. For me, and with my autism, my ADHD, I need all the steps broken down into smaller steps anyways. I need to take those big, complicated things that I want to know everything about anyway, but then I need to break all those things down anyway. So if I want to take the steps to go do something either in my career or a project or in life or whatever those things are, now I know that there's a toolbox that I can open up, be it in either resources I find online, YouTube, social media, books that I read, doctors that I talk to, therapists that I ask, other friends or colleagues who are autistic as well. Now I have a wealth of questions and perspectives and ideas and starting points that I didn't necessarily have, and starting points that I didn't necessarily have before I knew about my diagnosis. So it's important to take that time to grieve. It's important to take that time to process that thinking, process those feelings, process all that stuff, but then not give up and think, okay, I'm still here. I've still got time. I've still got opportunities in front of me. I can keep going. Okay, how do I want to keep going? What do I still want to do? As I recognized my needs and how I wanted to live my life and how I needed to have accommodations and how I wanted to live to be comfortable, I let those things go because they didn't serve my needs. And the more I unmask and the more I recognize what my needs are, the happier I become and the closer I get to finding out what I do want in life, what I do need. That's also a part of grieving, and that's also a part of unmasking. And as I recognize those things, I go, okay, that was the thing I wanted, but now that I sit with that thing, it doesn't serve me anymore. Okay, I'm going to let that one go. What do I still want? What do I still want to do? How can I achieve those things? Okay, what's my way in as someone with autism and ADHD? Not somebody else's way in who's a neurotypical, but what's the way in for me to do those things? When I take that lens to it now, I find all the other different ways in. I can still get overwhelmed. Those steps may still be overwhelming, but now I've got a toolbox to get through those things. I also think there's a healthy part of that grieving process of if at any point in time when I was younger, in high school, in college, in grad school, in my career, when I would stop and think, why can't I do that thing? What's wrong with me that I can't do this or this or this? What's wrong with me that that thing doesn't come more easily to me? What's wrong with me that I can't insert whatever it is? On this side of my diagnosis, I can grieve that there isn't anything wrong with me. It's just, again, I need a different way in. But at the same time, it can be frustrating to sit there and think about all that wasted energy and all that wasted time and all that wasted momentum, being frustrated and angry and concerned, or all that self-loathing in some cases, all of that was wasted time and wasted energy and wasted moments. And as I process that out, I'm starting to let that stuff go more and more and more. I'm forgiving myself for that self-loathing. I'm kind of letting myself go, hey, you know what? You didn't know that at the time. We know it now. We got to let that one go. We got to let that one go. And the more I kind of take that kinder, softer, gentler tone and voice with myself at my age now, I'm able to sort of heal some of those angrier parts of the years gone by. But that takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of practice, and it takes a lot of patience to go through that process. I don't necessarily believe that grieving process is a quick one. Roughly 4 years into knowing my diagnosis, and I'm only just now starting to recognize I'm letting a lot of those things go as I'm settling on the other side of my grieving process. But it can also be a place you can get stuck in if you're not careful. So it's also important to sort of congratulate yourself. Honor the things you have done. Honor the accomplishments. Again, I always take a strengths-based approach to everything I do on this channel, and I try to take a strengths-based approach to my autism and my ADHD. So a lot of times, and this has kind of become a part of my unmasking process, if you watch my video on unmasking, there's a whole part of me that will sometimes be in a situation now that I can't believe I've been lucky enough or been able to get myself into, because a few years ago, pre-diagnosed me would have ran away from, would have been nervous or scared to do. Post-diagnosed me is going, okay, I'm comfortable with this. I can do this now. I know what to do. I'm more comfortable with who I am. I'm more comfortable with my identity. I'm more comfortable with the things that I want and the things that I need. And I'm letting go of those other things that I stress about how am I going to achieve those things or how am I going to get through this thing. By letting that stuff go and giving myself what I need, there's such a relief there. There's such a relaxing relief of letting that stuff go, and it can be quite emotional. It can be quite powerful. I was recently, a few weeks ago, traveling on a business trip to New York, and I ended up spending a tremendous amount of time alone in New York City. Younger me would have been terrified, scared to do this, would have been so nervous and scared. But now I have the confidence to go and do the things that I want on my own in New York City and enjoy the things that I wouldn't have been able to enjoy many years ago. Okay, I can be upset that maybe I didn't get to do those things when I was younger. I'm here now, and I can enjoy those moments, I can enjoy those experiences, and I can have those experiences and enjoy them on this side. I was doing something one day, and I was starting to process that thought and getting used to that idea and sort of stopping and congratulating myself and honoring myself for being happy and being okay to be happy and enjoying this moment and enjoying that I have this amazing opportunity to be here and to do these things. And I got really emotional. I actually I was starting to tear up, having this really emotional moment there in this beautiful location in New York, just sort of walking around on my own, enjoying the day. And I had to sort of like mask up a little bit because I was starting to tear up, and, you know, and I was feeling very affirmed in my identity, and I was feeling very proud of myself. And I thought, my God, if younger me could see this, younger me would be so proud of the me now for doing this and for enjoying this and not having the anxiety that younger me would have had. And younger me had a lot of anxiety when younger me went to New York City. So it's a small thing, but it's an important thing for me to recognize the growth, the grieving process, the accommodations, taking those strengths-based approaches and giving myself my needs and meeting my needs and honoring my identity. And I can be proud of myself for that. Take time to process this. Sometimes it is helpful to have this process done in therapy. Sometimes it's helpful to just do this as a writing exercise to write it out. If you're a verbal processor like me, sometimes it's helpful to just sit down and record those thoughts, knowing that you're not going to share it with anybody. You can delete it afterwards. But whatever process you need to process those emotions, however you sit and think and write or speak, whatever your process is, find a way that works for you. But it does take time, but be kind with yourself as you do it. Thanks for watching. I hope this video has been helpful. Please like and subscribe to the channel. It helps me grow. It helps me get more of my information out to other people. If you have ideas or topics that you would like for me to take on about ADHD and autism in the workplace, please shoot me a note or comment in any of my videos to find out. Again, I'm Brett, the Audi Boss. Thanks for watching.